New CBS polling shows President Biden's approval rating has dipped among younger Americans. 43% of Americans aged 18 to 29 approve of the president's performance, and that's down from 55% in February. CBS News campaign reporter Taurean Small joins us from Boone, North Carolina. Taurean, I know you've been reporting on how younger voters are viewing this election. Historically, Democratic candidates do well with younger voters, tend to win them over, but Biden appears to be slipping here. From what you can tell, what's behind this decline?
Yeah, some of the same things that Anthony Savanto also mentioned today. A real sticking point is the president's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. A lot of folks that I talked to today say that they're looking for him to be a little bit more aggressive in calls for ceasefire, not just for a temporary pause for humanitarian relief, but also something a little bit more permanent. They're willing to draw a line in the sand, but I often ask, when is the pivot point? Is this something to the young voters that I talked to today, is this something that they're willing to take to November? A few of them said they're still on the fence. A lot of them are vehemently against Donald Trump, but they're not sure if their dislike for Donald Trump overweighs this moral dilemma that they're facing as it relates to the Israel-Hamas war.
That's really interesting. That's such an important question heading into November is, do they show up at all? I know you've been speaking with a lot of young voters, as you mentioned. What else are they telling you about their opinions of President Biden?
Well, age is a big problem for a lot of these young voters. And, the irony wasn't lost on the North Carolina Democratic State Party chair, who happens to be the youngest state party chair in the U.S. She said, listen, everyone knows that this is the oldest U.S. presidential candidate in the oldest U.S. presidential race. But she says for her, his policies are really young, or at least connects with more young progressive Democrats, which is why she's on the front lines really doing the heavy lifting for him, going to colleges like Appalachia State, where I'm at right now, talking to voters here, really engaging with them for the president, because she does believe, and she told me this, that representation matters, but she's also pointing to races down the ballot as proof of that. She says, listen, at the city, township level, you have a bunch of young folks, including the youngest mayor pro tem right now that was elected back in 2021. He's representative of many of those students, and she's saying you can still be a Democrat and support an older presidential candidate because he's lifting up some of those down ballot races.
That's really interesting, kind of down the ticket there. I mean, especially in a place like North Carolina, which is not as big of a battleground as some of the others, but a battleground nonetheless. What's been the Biden-Harris campaign strategy in North Carolina, if any?
Yeah, well, in 2020, Biden lost the state by around 70,000 votes. The campaign tells me that they're seeing some increases in changing demographics, more Democrats moving to the states where they think that this will be absolutely a state in play, partly because the governor's race is also on the ballot. And it's, a highly contentious race. You have the current lieutenant governor going up against the current attorney general. And that's really what's been the lightning rod here to gather folks around. But they're really targeting young voters here, taking advantage of the really expansive UNC college system here. Biden and Harris have both made stops to various colleges looking to recruit and engage young voters there, but also bring them into the Democratic Party. It goes beyond just getting them to vote. They want them to actively be a part of the coalition here and make sure that young voters not just encourage other young voters to participate and vote, but to also at some point become an elected official in their own right.
Yeah, that matters a lot for what exactly you were just talking about, those smaller, more local offices to get people to run for. Taurean Small, our Battleground State reporter, we thank you very much for your time reporting.